A pool party in Detroit in the summer of 2025 seemed like nothing but fun and sunshine. But just a few minutes later, everything turned into hell. Phone cameras shook, people screamed, and on the wet cement floor around the pool, 2 bodies lay motionless in pools of blood. One of them was the host himself, who had innocently opened a Facebook live stream to show off the party atmosphere with his friends. He had no idea that he was filming his final moments. The other was a young mother who had just shared photos of her getting her nails done and wearing a new outfit to enjoy a rare night of youth. Also unaware that her 6-year-old daughter would lose her mother in an instant. The perpetrator of the tragedy was not a stranger, not an intruder. It was a close friend, someone the victim once called brother. And it all started with just a small collision between a few women at the pool. The 9th of August, 2025. Detroit was sweltering in the heat. On his personal page, Jakiria Williams, 31 years old, posted an excited status. "Respect my thing is all I'm asking." That was his way of signaling to his friends that today would be a special day. He had just rented a house in the neighborhood near 7 Mile and Fleming, which had an outdoor pool large enough to serve as a stage for a summer gathering. Williams had been preparing for the party since early morning. He was a father, a friendly friend, and also a familiar figure in the community. The first live streams showed him happy, smiling brightly, raising his glass to greet the audience watching on his phone. Next to him, a tall man, his face colder, but still friendly. That was Daiwan Hobson. Williams introduced him as a friend, a brother. No one expected that a few hours later, that man would be the one holding a knife to stab the party host to death. Elsewhere, 5-year-old Martisha Payne is applying lipstick and adjusting her new outfit. On social media, she posts a photo of her hands, freshly manicured, with the energetic caption, "Tonight is mine." Martisha is not just a young party girl. She is also a single mother to 6-year-old Casey. Her whole world is her mother, and Martisha's whole world is her child. But being a mother doesn't mean she can't live for herself. That pool party was a rare opportunity for her to let loose, to feel young, still free. As the afternoon progresses, the music gets louder, the alcohol spreads, and the pool becomes the center of the hustle and bustle. Williams's camera pans across smiling faces, dancing, raising glasses. Everything is still a normal party. But then, Hobson shows up with his mother. A 31-year-old man brings his mother to a young people's pool party. The camera captured a few puzzled looks, a few whispers. Who brought mom here? But no one expected this small detail to be the spark that ignited everything. Hobson had only been out of prison for a month. His record clearly stated, strangulation causing injury. The conditions of his probation forbade him from being in the presence of alcohol. But that night, he didn't care. When he saw his mother being bumped by a drunk girl, maybe stepped on her foot, maybe thrown on her shoulder, Hobson became angry. People were still divided. Some witnesses said Martisha was the one who bumped into her. Others insisted the conflict originated from another group of women. But everyone agreed on one point. Hobson didn't pull his mother away, didn't choose to leave. He stayed, and let his anger guide him. The argument started. The phone continued to live stream, recording the tense faces, the hands that started to push. Martisha, already tipsy, shouted something, a hand flick, a collision, and then a small commotion. The crowd crowded around the pool, Hobson's voice echoing, "It's my mama! It's my mama!" When Williams, the host, rushed to intervene, things got out of hand. Hobson pulled out a large knife. Not a fruit knife, not a pocket knife. Witnesses described it as a long, sharp blade, brought in beforehand. In a split second, he swung his arm repeatedly, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Blood splattered, screams echoed around the pool. Williams was hit by the knife as he tried to break away from the crowd. He staggered, falling to the blood-soaked concrete. Martisha collapsed nearby, her green fingernails, which she had been sporting just hours earlier, now stained red. 2 others were also injured, one in critical condition. What made everyone shudder was this detail. Despite the blood, despite the rapid breathing, Williams still tried to hold up the phone, typing meaningless characters into the screen, as if wanting to leave a last word. When the ambulance arrived, he was gone. So was Martisha. The police arrived, red and blue lights shining on the surface of the pool. The party was now just a battlefield. Hobson disappeared into the darkness. That night, Detroit lost 2 lives. A child lost his mother, a mother lost her child, and the community lost its faith. Just because of a small collision, a fit of anger, a knife carried, everything changed forever. But the question is even more haunting. Was it really an act of protecting mother? Or was it a time bomb waiting for a reason to explode? There's a lot more to this case. From Hobson's past? Where some called him a devoted son, and others claimed he was a cold-blooded killer. If you want to hear the whole truth, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. As news of the double stabbing at a pool party spread across Detroit, what shocked many was not just the brutality, but the relationship between the killer and the victim. Daiwan Hobson, the knifeman, was no stranger. He had been called brother by Jakiria Williams herself. They had been seen at parties together, standing next to each other in videos, laughing, and on the night of the 9th of August, cameras captured them, raising glasses, putting their arms around each other, as if their friendship was a given. But that friendship, within hours, turned to death. To understand why, we have to go back in time, not just to that day, but to the years before Hobson stepped foot in the rented house with the pool. Daiwan Hobson, 31, is a familiar name in Detroit police files. Not big robberies or notorious gangs, but a long list of petty acts of violence. Bar fights, threatening neighbors, and most notably, bodily harm by strangulation. He had been in prison for more than a year, and had only been released from prison exactly a month before the tragedy. The conditions of his probation stated, no drinking, no attending noisy events, avoiding conflict. But as soon as he was released, Hobson appeared continuously at street parties. Friends described Hobson as the type of person who was normally quiet, but when he got angry, he became a different person. That temper, combined with a sense of detachment after being released from prison, turned him into a time bomb. And it was Williams, the host, who welcomed his brother back into the community. Williams was not a reckless player. He had a young child, a steady job, and despite his love of partying, he was described by his mother and relatives as a nice guy. Perhaps that was why he was easily moved by Hobson, who had just been released from prison and needed friends to start over. Ironically, it was that tolerance that led him into tragedy. Martisha Payne, the female victim, had nothing to do with Hobson's dark past. She was just a visitor, a young woman hoping to get a few hours away from the cycle of caring for her child. Friends said that before arriving, she texted that, "Today is going to be a blast." She had no idea that she would be the center of an argument, just because she bumped into an older woman in the crowd. That woman was Hobson's mother. Why did he bring her? That question remains unanswered. Some people think that Hobson wanted to prove that he had changed, that he had returned as a grown man, and was willing to take his mother along so that he would not be judged. But others say that he had no intention of taking his mother out, that no one wanted to leave her alone at home. Whatever the reason, his appearance turned a normal conflict into a defending honor battle. Witnesses recounted, Martisha, while dancing and drinking, accidentally bumped into Hobson's mother. A word, back and forth. A handshake. Then the crowd began to split. Some defended Martisha. It was just a small collision, nothing serious. Others defended Hobson. Touching someone's mother is not acceptable. It was this polarization that made the atmosphere stifling, ready to explode. And Hobson, with his past of strangling, with a record of violence, was not a person who knew how to restrain himself. In the live stream, before pulling out the knife, we can hear him repeating the phrase, "It's my mama," as if that was the only reason, the license to use violence. No one in the crowd thought that the words would turn into a stab, but when Hobson pulled the long blade out of his body, it was too late. Williams, with the instinct of a host, rushed to stop him. But that action put him right in the path of the knife. Martisha, drunk and angry, had no time to avoid it. Both fell almost at the same time. In just 5 minutes, the party had turned into a murder scene. And the most bitter thing, it was all recorded, broadcast live to dozens of people watching on Facebook. A public, naked, indelible death. The next day, social media exploded. 2 opposing opinions emerged. One side defended Hobson. "If I were you, I would have done the same thing if I saw your mother being beaten." The other side was furious. Protecting your mother doesn't mean killing. He was waiting for a reason to explode. Williams's mother broke down in tears during the interview, repeating, "He was a good boy. He was so gentle. How could this happen?" Martisha's mother was busy with her son's funeral, holding a bewildered baby, Casey, who didn't understand why his mother would never come back. And Hobson? He was gone. Security cameras recorded him running from the scene, knife still in hand. Blood on his shirt. Police launched a citywide manhunt, offering a $5,000 reward for information. But in the early days, he had evaporated. Detroit was shaken. People were saying, if 2 people who call each other brothers can end up like this, who can trust whom? The question is even more haunting. When a man with a violent past is given a chance to start over, can he really change? Or is he just waiting for the moment to reveal his true nature? There are many details that have not been revealed, from the unusual status lines Hobson posted after his release from prison to the hidden conflicts before the party that many witnesses confirmed existed. If you want to know what caused that time bomb to explode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next part. The music was playing, then suddenly stopped, as if drowned out by the frantic screaming. The Facebook live stream shook violently, the image distorted, the noise chaotic. In a flickering frame, you could see several women shouting, pushing each other near the edge of the lake. A male voice rose, harsh, repeating, "It's my mama! It's my mama!" That was Hobson, his voice getting higher and higher, more desperate, both pleading and threatening. The crowd began to disperse. Some, sensing the tension, retreated to the backyard. But others moved closer, phones raised, eager to capture a hot moment to share online. No one imagined that they were recording a murder in real time. At first I thought it was just a normal argument, like a fight at a party, a witness recalled. But then I saw Hobson's eyes. They didn't look like someone who wanted to make peace. He was about to explode. In the circle, Martisha, her face flushed with alcohol, her glass still in her hand, jerked her hand away, perhaps in self-defense, perhaps just reflexively. The hand slid over the shoulder of the older woman, Hobson's mother. That was the moment the final boundary was broken. Hobson rushed forward. One hand held tight, the other pulled out a knife. The steel blade flashed under the pool lights. 1 slash, 2 slashes, then many more, so fast that the phone camera couldn't catch it. All that could be heard was a scream, the sound of running footsteps. Williams, the homeowner who was trying to get in between to pull his friend out, was hit in the chest with the knife. He collapsed, his hand still raised as if to block, as if to preserve the peace of the party he was hosting. Martisha, just a few steps away, was also fatally stabbed. She staggered, then collapsed, her bright green fingernails now stained red. A guest screamed, "Someone call 911!" But in the chaos, few people had the composure to dial. The live stream continued to record the horrific scene. The image was blurry, shaking violently, but the sound was clear. People crying, screaming each other's names. Hobson's voice still echoing. Frantic. "Don't touch my mama! Don't touch my mama!" In a few short seconds, the joy collapsed. The cool blue pool turned into a cold-blooded stage. Friends who had just been dancing were now cowering in the corner of the yard or running through the fence. "I've never seen so much blood in my life," one person who held the phone later described. It was running in long streaks on the cement floor, all the way to the water's edge. The most tragic thing was William's reaction in his final minutes. Badly injured, he still tried to crawl to his phone. In the live stream, viewers saw the screen typing in disjointed, meaningless characters, like a trembling hand trying to type a last message. Some believed he wanted to write help. Others said it was just a paralyzed finger. But whatever it was the final evidence that he fought until the end. As the ambulance siren echoed in the distance, Hobson ran. Security cameras in the neighborhood recorded him running through the darkness. Knife still clutched. Shirt stained with blood. Behind him, the yard of the rented house turned into a crime scene. Yellow ropes began to be strung up. Red and blue lights flashing all over the street corner. 2 people died, 2 others were injured, 1 in critical condition. It all happened in less than 5 minutes. A party that had been planned for days ended in chaos and tears. Survivors say they are haunted by the final image. Martisha lying face down, her hair wet with blood, her hand still reaching out for nothing. Williams collapsed nearby, eyes wide open, staring up at the Detroit sky, as if in disbelief that his brother had just killed him. The news spread quickly. Neighbors, who had complained about the noisy parties at the rental house, stood silently as police worked. One elderly woman, trembling, told reporters, "We were afraid something like this would happen. But we didn't expect it to be this bad." And like any shocking case in the age of social media, truth and rumor mixed together. A short clip cut from the live stream went viral. Hobson screamed, "It's my mama," before stabbing him. There is fierce debate. Some say it was self-defense. Others say it was just an excuse to unleash violence. Regardless of which side you're on, everyone agrees on one thing. The line between celebration and mourning has never been so thin. And the question still hangs. If you were there, what would you have done? Would you have run away from the scene or stepped in to stop it? Would you have protected your mother at all costs? Or would you have stopped before you crossed the bloodline? There are many hidden corners that have yet to be revealed. Hobson's escape, the fierce online feud, and the irreparable pain of the two families. If you want to hear the whole thing, subscribe so you don't miss the next part. The night of the 9th of August, 2025, ended in blood and tears. But when the sun rose the next morning, Detroit woke up to a nightmare that had not ended. The killer, Daiwan Hobson, was still at large. Police identified him just hours after the incident using security cameras and witness statements. A wanted poster spread across the city. Male, 31, 6'1", approximately 180 pounds. Prime suspect in double stabbing at pool party. Armed and extremely dangerous. A $5,000 reward was offered for information leading to Hobson's arrest. But in the early days, he had disappeared. No cell phone signal. No vehicle trace. Police searched apartments linked to him, but found only a few discarded clothes and a pair of muddy shoes. Some believed Hobson had someone hiding him. Others said he had fled Detroit and fled to another state. But the truth was that he was still somewhere in the city. Silent. Hidden. While public opinion was ablaze. On social media, videos from the live stream were shared tens of thousands of times. The blurry frames, the screams, and Hobson's voice ringing out, "It's my mama! It's my mama!" became the focus of controversy. One side defended, "If my mother was beaten, I would have done the same. He was just protecting his family." They saw Hobson as a dutiful son who acted out of desperation. One even wrote, "Don't call him a murderer. He's a son who was cornered." The other side was outraged. Protecting your mother doesn't mean killing two people. If he really loved his mother, he would have dragged her away from the beginning, not brought a knife and stabbed her in the crowd. They called Hobson a cold-blooded killer, a time bomb waiting to explode. While the whole city argued, the two families fell into their own hell. Kimberly Williams, Jakiria's mother, sat in front of the camera, her eyes swollen from crying. She choked up and repeated, "He was so good. He was so gentle. He just wanted to have fun with his friends. Why did this happen?" This was not the first time Kimberly had lost a child. She had previously buried another son because of street violence. Now, she had to prepare the funeral for her second son. this time betrayed by his best friend. On the other side of the city, Martisha Payne's mother hugged Casey, her 6-year-old granddaughter who was now motherless. The little girl still didn't understand what was happening. She only asked, "Where is Mommy? When will Mommy come back?" Every time like that, the grandmother could only wipe away her tears, hold her granddaughter in her arms, not knowing how to respond. Martisha once told her friends that everything she did, from her job to her efforts to earn money, was for her daughter. Now the child has to grow up without her mother's hands. Both families are preparing for the funeral at the same time, enduring the pain that no words can make sense. But the difference is that while they are mourning, social media has turned the incident into a battlefield of controversy. An anonymous account wrote, "If it weren't for the drunk girls causing trouble, no one would have died." Immediately, hundreds of comments responded, blaming women to justify the murderer. What about the knife? What about the 5 stab wounds? These verbal battles not only erode the community spirit, but also cause more pain for the victim's family. A friend of Martisha's was indignant. "They turn our pain into entertainment. While we are dealing with the funeral, they sit and type, arguing about whether the murderer is right or not." On the evening news, police implored Hobson to turn himself in. "We know you're listening. We've identified you. There's no way out but to surrender." But Hobson remained silent. Meanwhile, a shocking truth emerged. Hobson should never have been at the party in the first place. He was on probation, banned from leaving his home at night, from drinking alcohol, and of course from possessing weapons. But no one was checking up on him. No one came to check on him. No electronic monitoring. The system had once again failed to keep a man with a violent past from entering the community. Neighbors around the rental house were still in shock. "We've complained about these parties many times," one elderly man told reporters. "Cars were parked all over the street. Music was blaring. But we never thought 2 people would die in front of us." Cars. Detroit, a city already plagued by crime, had another wound. And when night falls, social media lights up with videos of gory scenes. Some people don't dare watch. Some people watch them over and over again, as if haunted, but all ask the same question. How can a small collision lead to death? Hobson is still at large. The police are still hunting. The victim's family is still in pain, and public opinion has never been more divided. The scariest thing is that, amid the chaos, people forgot an important detail. If Hobson was ready to bring a knife to a party, would he stop at 2 lives, or would he continue to cause more tragedies on his escape? There are still many things that have not been revealed. Hobson's escape route, the places he visited, and the inevitable confrontation with the police. If you want to know how this manhunt ends, click subscribe so you don't miss the next part. After nearly a week of tense Detroit, the police finally tracked down Daiwan Hobson. The news came from an old acquaintance. He was hiding in an abandoned house on the city's east side, which had been a drug den many years ago. When the special forces surrounded him, Hobson did not fight back as fiercely as many feared. He came out, his hands up, his face haggard, his shirt stained. The murder weapon was gone, perhaps discarded on the run, but that made no difference. Detroit breathed a sigh of relief, but the pain did not lessen. 2 funerals had taken place before Hobson was arrested. At a white flower ceremony, Kimberly Williams, Jakiria's mother, stood before her son's casket, her voice cracking. He just wanted to do the right thing, to stop the violence, and yet, no one in the church could hold back tears. She had buried one child by gunfire, now she had to bury another by knife stabs, both killed by so-called friends. At Martisha Payne's funeral, little Casey stood in a white dress next to her mother's portrait. The child didn't understand what was happening, just cried, "Mommy." Many people hugged her, tears streaming down their faces. A friend of Martisha's choked up. She survived so much, only to be gone because of a party. A small collision. It's so unfair. Hobson's trial opened in late 2025. The courtroom was packed. On one side were the Williams and Payne families, holding photos of their loved ones. On the other side, a few of Hobson's relatives sat silently. The prosecutor reconstructed the entire case using a series of live stream videos, security cameras, and witness statements. Each blurry frame was still haunting. Hobson screaming, "It's my mama!" pulling out a knife, rushing forward, and the two bodies collapsing. Defense attorneys tried to paint a picture of a son desperate to protect his mother. "He didn't mean to kill," they said. "He was overwhelmed, provoked, and acted on impulse." But prosecutors shot back. This wasn't self-defense. This is a man who brought a knife to a party, violated his probation, and used it to take 2 lives. He had the opportunity to leave. He could have protected his mother by getting her out, but he chose to kill.